I wake up to the same old fight, chasing shadows in the night. Promises made, but I let them fade. Caught in the cycle, I'm feeling betrayed. Round and round, I'm losing ground. Trying to break free, but I can't see. These negative patterns are haunting me. Nights turn to days, I'm losing my way. Thought I found peace, but it's led me astray. Chasing the high, but it only brings pain. The more I run, the less I gain.
Hey everybody, hey, and welcome to another session of Taureca, Say It Again. And today our topic is on the child you once were is still showing up. I'm going to say it again and slow it down. When the child you once were is still showing up. Now, sometimes the adult making the decision isn't the only one in the room. Think about that. The child you once were may still be influencing how you love, how you communicate, how you respond to rejection, and even the patterns you keep repeating. Now, I want to make this connection early on for you when we talk about addictive patterns. As a child, we learn how to survive our environment. Just point blank, period. Some of us have it tougher, or you may say rougher than others. We may learn to seek attention because we didn't feel seen. We've heard that before. We may become people pleasers because love felt conditional, you know. Based on this, you can get this. There was conditions with it. We may shut down because expressing ourselves, it wasn't safe. We may become overly independent because we couldn't depend on others. We may accept disrespect because dysfunction became familiar. That was what we knew. We may chase affection because we learned that love had to be earned. It just wasn't given. It had to be earned. We may avoid confrontation because conflict made us uncomfortable. Hell, I feel like that today. And here's where the addictive pattern can develop. Out of all of what I said, what helped the child survive may become the adult's unhealthy pattern. I'm going to say that again. What helped the child survive may become the adult's unhealthy pattern, when you get older. The problem is that the adult may no longer be in the environment that required that behavior. But guess what? They're still responding as if they are. Question. Are you responding to what's happening now? Or are you responding to something that happened then? Now, that question alone can open up a whole another conversation. Take, for example, I may use someone's partner, their husband, their wife. They may say, I need some space. Well, maybe the child, or I'll say maybe the adult hears they're leaving me. The adult hears it now, but that's not what they're saying. Because mind you, we got the adult, but we got the child still living in there. Let me give you another one. Someone may give constructive criticism, but that adult hears, I'm not good enough. But that's not what they're saying. But I'm going to say the adult child hears, I'm not good enough. What about someone establishes a boundary? The adult child hears, they don't love me anymore. Is that really what it is? I got another one for you. Someone doesn't respond immediately to a text. The adult child begins creating scenarios in their head. And we can take this so many different ways, okay? But those are just some scenarios of things that could be said or done. And we hear one thing, but that's not really what the person is saying. Instead of having that conversation and asking what I hear you saying is, and checking to see if that's what it is, if you've interpreted it correctly. Now, those reactions or scenarios that I just gave you may not be about the person standing in front of them. Remember, I say the adult child? They may be connected to an old wound, an old fear, an old survival pattern. We say it all the time. Things that have taken place in your childhood that shapes and mold your adulthood. So the child you once were, okay, is still showing up. One of those things we have to understand about addictive patterns is that sometimes the behavior we're displaying today has roots in experiences we had yesterday. Think about that child. The child you once were may still be showing up in the adult you are today. And I'm going to keep saying it. That little girl, that little boy, the child who didn't feel heard, the child who had to grow up too fast because of different circumstances in their home, the child who learned to keep quiet, the child who learned that love came with conditions, the child who learned to accept certain behaviors because they were normal in the household. You grew up, but sometimes the pattern didn't. Oof, you heard me. You grew up, but sometimes the pattern don't. And that's why we have to be careful about saying, that's just who I am. We've heard that before. Oh, that's just who I am. Or that's who he or she is. Okay. You've heard me say it. That don't mean that I gotta accept it because that's who you are. Maybe it isn't who you are. Maybe it's something you learn. We talk about those learned behaviors. Yes. Maybe you're not overly needed because that was something I said early on, right? Maybe you're not overly needed. Maybe you learned to chase love because you were afraid of losing it. Maybe that's why your behavior, your action is as such. Let me give you some more. Maybe you're not controlling. Maybe control became your way of creating safety. Maybe you're not emotionally unavailable. Maybe you learned early that showing emotion wasn't safe. And we've heard some male testimonies. Boys, suck it up. Boys ain't supposed to cry. Hmm. Maybe you're not a people pleaser. Maybe you learned that keeping everyone else happy was the way to receive love. All of what I just said can be the work of addictive patterns when we talk about recognizing the behavior, understanding where it came from, and deciding whether it still has a place in our lives. Because healing isn't about blaming the child you were. No, not finger pointing. That's not healing. It's about understanding that child. It's about telling that little girl or that little boy, you don't have to survive that way anymore. So the question isn't simply what's wrong with me, okay, or what's wrong with them. The better question is what happened to me that taught me to respond this way? What happened to them that taught them to respond that way? Why are they acting out like that? What happened? And once you understand the pattern, hey, then you have a choice. You can continue repeating it, or you can become the person who breaks it. Breaking those generational curses, breaking those generational habits, breaking those generational trauma, breaking those generational patterns. What did you learn as a child? I have one last question for you. What did you learn as a child that you unknowingly carried into your relationships or unknowingly carried into your parenting or unknowingly carried into your friendships or simply unknowingly carried into your adulthood? Food for thought. Hopefully you got something out of today's session. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. Have a good one.